What is up? We're going to be going over a full week split for you to help develop your strength, power, speed, and even put on a little bit of size. This is an athletic program. It's designed for athletes. As you can see, this is only 3 days. We're going to cover the next 3 after this. But this is to help you get an understanding of how to put together your training plans. This is the actual training plan that we're using as a part of our foundational phase of training in the Peak Performance program. If you don't know me, I'm Nick Lyden. I'm a certified strength and conditioning coach. I've worked with hundreds of athletes, but let's get into it. So with our upper body, the first thing, these all include like dynamic warm-up, priming your body, getting the shoulders ready, all that stuff, but we're gonna get into the actual workout. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna emphasize and prioritize our horizontal power production, right? Like pressing power, okay? So with this, we're gonna be choosing a couple of med ball, either a med ball or a plyometric based movement. All of these, it's about 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 sets, really depends on the athlete. But we're trying to maximize our horizontal force production. We're also using this to light up like our central nervous system, okay? I wanna prime the fast twitch muscle fibers to be active, producing force, so that way when we get later into our strength work, it's already fired up, already ready to go. The plyo push-ups onto a box, I really like the plyo push-ups onto a box because when you drop back down from the box, you actually have to, you get a little bit of eccentric overload that the athlete has to catch, absorb, stop, and then redirect back on up, which is gonna be a little bit more, a little bit better compared to say like a clap push-up that you're just clapping, landing, resetting, and then going again, okay? After that, this is gonna be a little bit different, where true peak power production is typically 3 to 5 reps, anywhere from 30 to 80%. You're trying to maximize the speed on the bar while also maximizing the amount of weight that you can do to achieve peak power. In this foundational phase, I really want to work on our athletes' work capacity, okay? Their ability to be powerful, be explosive, be strong, even in a fatigue state. So in order to do that, we have to increase the volume a little bit with it, okay? That's why we have our true power work here, and then we're going into some repeat power here, okay? Because I've already taken care of the power production, peak power production here, and now we're getting some repeat power, a little bit of like conditioning-esque type work, okay? So with our repeat power, the one we're choosing, or I personally think works better, is a landmine Viking press. You can get away with like a push press variation or like a football bar press, push press variation, but I like the landmine because it's a little bit easier to like reset and go right into the next rep. You're still gonna target the shoulder, tricep, and chest a little bit. It's gonna be more at a 45-degree angle, but we're gonna go for, like I said, higher volume. So this is gonna be like 3 to 4 sets, 10 reps, where you're trying to pick the heaviest weight that you can maintain the speed throughout the entire 10 reps with this. Now we're gonna get into some of our strength work, okay? The first movement is we're gonna hammer is the, again, horizontal press, horizontal strength, okay? And we're gonna use a football bar bench. If you don't have a football bar bench, you can use normal bench. It's a totally good option. I like this is because it's gonna be a little bit more similar to the movement pattern that we're gonna be using. There's gonna be a greater demand on the triceps with this a little bit. We are still trying to get a little bit of that hypertrophy effect. So in the beginning of the first few weeks, we might start a little bit higher volume, maybe 6 to 8 reps, 3 to 4 sets. But it's on the last set that we're gonna try to get that hypertrophy kind of stimulus or higher rep range to get some of the metabolic stress, get that adaptation, okay? So at the end of our set on the football bar bench, single arm dumbbell row, we are going to do essentially a drop set. So whatever your working weight was here, you're gonna take about 60 to 80% of that, and then you're going to try to max out as many reps as you possibly can, with the goal of being around 10 to 12 before you actually like give out with everything. Then we're gonna get into just some weighted chin-ups and then some core. So with the core, here we're trying to work a little bit of dynamic trunk control, some stability with also like our shoulder for overhead carry variation. And then lastly, we're gonna get into a hanging leg raise variation to hit our lower abs, a little bit of the obliques, and to challenge our hip flexors a little bit, which is important for our athletes as you use those in running. The next day is going to be a speed day, okay? So legs are still fresh, so I wanna emphasize speed when they're the most freshest, because when you are trying to train top speed, you have to be fresh. You have to be running at like 95% of your max velocity, or you're not achieving the stimulus that you need in order to tell your body, hey, we need to get faster, okay? With that being said, when we are in the actual sprints, I do not care about how long you rest. I care about how fresh you are and the times that you're achieving. And once those times start to drop, then you drop. Stop doing more reps, okay? Because at that point now it's just turning into, I mean, you're still getting like technical work, but you're not necessarily you're not getting better in improving your top speed, which is what we want. It's like a glorified conditioning at that point. Okay, so 3 to 5 minutes rest. But now let's get into it. So we always start our speed days with dynamic warm up, some positioning drills like A-skips. You know, we'll open the hips up with cariokas. We'll do some, we'll move into some bounds and some plyometrics. So with this, we're gonna use some ladders and extensive plyometrics. Typically with the ladder drills, we use that for more proprioception and as a way to simply kind of get the ankles warm and ready to go with some extensive plyo variations, which I'll show. After that, we're gonna get into our bound series. So double leg bounds, single leg bounds, speed bounds. Again, that's just to emphasize putting more force into the ground due to the exaggerated nature of what bounds are offering. After that, this fly 30s and 10s. These are really 2 great exercises. This is where we're maximizing our top speed. This is our top speed focus, acceleration, agility, okay? So this, not a lot of volume, maybe 3, 4, 5 sets as we go on later in the weeks. You can do one that we're gonna do is gonna be a bound into a fly 30. Okay, so it's a build up bound until you're at a pretty high speed and then you transition and you turn it into a top speed sprint, or a fly 10 where it's a gradual build up. At the cone, you are at top speed, you are sprinting top speed. I recommend that you time these or film these and pull your times off so you can get an accurate measurement of where your top speed's at. And you can see like, oh crap, that one was a little slower. Maybe I need to rest a little bit longer. If it happens again, cut it off. So that's our top speed. After that, acceleration. So acceleration is very like power dominant and technique dominant, right? Like those are the 2 main things that are gonna really help you improve your acceleration. So when we're doing top speed, I like to do a contrast set for sled sprints at a 30 to about 50% velocity decrement. That's where you're gonna maximize your like peak power with the sled. And then take that into an unrestrained or normal sprint, okay? You're gonna get a big stimulus here, and for the athletes, it's really gonna help them feel like how aggressive and how hard they have to push into the ground to accelerate quickly. And then you go into a contrast sprint. We're gonna prime the body due to the contrast nature with some post-activation potentiation. So they're still gonna feel like they have to push into the ground really, really hard, and they're gonna explode out. After that, we wanna get into a little bit of agility, right? This is a pretty decent sized speed day. So with the agility, we really focus a little bit more on the technical work with like a 3-cone drill. We're focusing on the foot planting outside or on the ball of the foot. We're not like heel striking, okay? Really much more on the technical side. Another one that we like to do is either a 5 or a 10-yard stop and go, where you first initiate the movement by a slow jog, maybe 50-60%. Make sure the athlete's stopping appropriately, they're in the right mechanics with their stop, and then once they've got that down, you can pick up the speed and then get it into a stop and go where it's a full 180 turn. The next day is our lower body day, okay? So again, we're trying to get powerful, we're trying to build some strength, and we're trying to build a little bit of muscle. What I'm doing here with all these pogos, okay, is I'm trying to sneak in a lot of extensive plyometrics to train the athlete's ankle and some of the elastic strength that they're gonna need to handle higher and higher impact forces, harder types of plyometrics. I just wanna go straight into a bunch of extensive plyometrics when their joints and their tendons aren't really ready for that. So we'll do some band assisted pogos. Again, this after our warm up, this kind of serves as like another warm up. It teaches the athlete to get off the ground quickly, feel a little bit of responsiveness off the ground. We'll take that into a pogo, into a box jump. This way it's more of a true plyometric for a box jump as we get the stretch shortened cycle of the ankle complex off the pogo into a max vertical jump. Okay, so you're having a little bit of change in force outputs where it's quick hop, quick hop, quick hop, big box jump as high as you possibly can. And then the same thing taking into the broad jumps. So the ground contact time will be a little bit slower on the ground contact time of the pogo into a broad jump. After that, we're gonna get into kind of our main power work outside of the plyometric. What I'm looking for is generating the power from the legs and from the hips. I think a lot of athletes tend to worry and focus a lot on the upper body mechanics, where 90% of the movement is coming from the lower body and the vertical force is coming from the lower body. So a clean pull is a great variation. You can load these up a little bit heavier. okay? And you're simply in the bottom position, exploding up as high as you can, up triple extension, teaching good bar path, and then you're gonna take that into a power clean. Next, we're gonna get into our strength work with our lower body. So this is any squat variation. So it can be a back squat, front squat. Our MMA guys will do like more zerchers. This could even be a trap bar if you wanted to. We're gonna have that later in the workout. But for this, we're gonna start with our strength work. We typically can start a little bit higher volume because we're trying to build a little bit of muscle, and we're gonna work down into lower true strength, like numbers and rep ranges into like the 3s, 4s. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our sets, work up to our heavy sets. Then again, we're gonna do kind of a drop set where we then work on volume. Moving to a B stance is a great way to like introduce and progress people into more unilateral training than say a true single leg RDL, which requires a lot of stability. So B stance allows them to load about 80 to 90% on one load. Allows us to target the hamstring and glute of that lead leg a little bit more. Then we'll get into our reverse lunges. So we're gonna have an elevated reverse lunge. Now, I only do these with our athletes if our athletes already have the range of motion to fully go down into a normal reverse lunge. To add a little bit to this, we'll either do a double front rack or a unilateral load. The unilateral load is gonna force you to have to stabilize the hip a lot more. So depending on what your goal is, if it's a little bit more strength focused, then you'll do a double front rack reverse lunge or even hang them down by your side. The front rack is gonna make you use your core a lot more compared to just hanging them down by your side. You can load it up a little bit more, and if you need some wrist wraps or anything, you can load it up even more after that. Whereas the unilateral load is gonna force a lot more of that stability. Lastly is gonna be a glute ham. Really with these, we're trying to keep our hips through, keep our toes up to allow the hamstring to actually pull, and we're not pulling from the calves or shifting our hips back. So now we're gonna get into the next 3 days of training. So one thing to mention about the whole work capacity, like how are we going to be improving that? So on our upper body days, and if you wanted to add it to the full body day that I'm gonna show you, is incorporating a interval in between each and every set of the main strength movements. Okay, so again, work capacity, conditioning, we're trying to be strong, trying to be powerful throughout this. So what you're gonna do is, whether it's a sprint on an assault runner or Woodway treadmill, an assault bike, or skier or rower or treadmill, whatever it is, you're gonna incorporate a 15 to 20 second sprint in between and then take your rest. So you're gonna accumulate a lot of volume with the sprints throughout, because there's 3 to 4 sets at each of these. So you're looking at about 12, maybe 15 sets of sprints, 15 to 20 seconds. What you're gonna do is you're going to build up to top speed by the 10-second mark. For that 10-second mark, you're gonna then hold it as long as you can. If you're doing the 20 seconds, you're gonna hold it for about 5 to 7 seconds. And then you're gonna coast the remaining 3, 4, 5 seconds at about 80% of your speed. Then you're gonna take your entire rest. I'm telling you, it may not seem that hard, but it really is gonna get your conditioning up while getting some very effective strength and power work in here. All right, so here are the next 3 days. The next day is honestly a rest and mobility day. After the leg day, you're gonna be absolutely smoked. So I think a lot of athletes tend to not see as much of the benefit from their training that they actually want to see, because they don't recover from their workouts. They keep pushing all the time, which we love that mindset. But in order for those adaptations to happen, you gave the strength stimulus, you gave the power stimulus, you gave the hypertrophy stimulus, you need to be able to recover from it to allow your body to heal itself and to get those adaptations that we're looking for, okay? After that, we're gonna get into our full body day. So with our plyos, we're gonna be focusing on some landings. The goal of this is to be able to, and I hate the word absorb, but force absorption. We're really trying to stop forces quickly, okay? So that great eccentric overload and being able to stop it quickly, so then we are able to then transition out very, very rapidly. The more force we can handle in a landing or that we're absorbing, the more you're gonna be able to redirect and get out quickly. And then being explosive, that is the name of the game. The name of the game of being explosive is to be able to get in and out of positions very rapidly with a lot of force, okay? So we'll do some landings where we're landing in a quarter squat. We're gradually increasing the height as we go, as long as we can maintain good, proper technique and we're not kind of shifting all over the place. The next thing that we're gonna get into is we are gonna get into, it's a little bit more coordinated. It's going to challenge the deceleration abilities a lot. And these are a 45-degree skater jump, okay? We wanna make sure our hips are square with this. And essentially what we're doing is we're almost doing like a 45-degree skater bound, but what we're doing is we are going to be jumping laterally to the front, having to put the brakes on, big deceleration on the ball of the foot, kind of outside edge of the foot, redirect back at a 45-degree, transition very, very quickly into a lot of load and a lot of force we have to absorb as we plant the back foot, and then a big, powerful jump on out. Okay, so typically we'll do about 3 sets, about 5 reps on each of them, each way that we're going. After we get our plyos in, we're gonna move into our main kind of lower body movement, which is gonna be the trap bar deadlift. With this, we're keeping it pretty simple. True strength numbers, about 5 reps, 3 sets. We'll move up to 4 sets, but on the last set, you're gonna drop the weight down 50% and you're gonna perform a speed set. So we're getting some activation, some potentiation here from the heavy sets. After that, just to get a little bit of power work today outside of the plyometrics, we're gonna pull the weight off and we're focusing on ripping that bar off the ground, moving explosively as you possibly can. And if you get off the ground a little bit, I'm okay with that, okay? We're trying to focus on bar speed for that last set. After that, we're gonna get into some, again, pressing. We had horizontal, we had verticals. Now we're gonna meet right in the middle. 8 to 6 reps, again, with a drop set if you wanna hit some more hypertrophy focus there. After that is a vertical pull, okay? So we're just rounding out the workout, all right? Vertical pull. It could be a lat pull down, could be pull up, could be weighted chin ups, could be weighted neutral grip, whatever is gonna get the job done for you. Again, we're right around 5, 8 reps, depending on the load that you have on your body or how strong you are. Same thing with dips here, and then we're gonna hit another hip and hamstring exercise based off that, which is primarily gonna be a little bit more knee dominant. And then lastly, we're hitting some rotational core. So a lot of athletes and a lot of programs, it's all crunches or anti-rotation, and which is great, don't get me wrong, but in sports and movement, like, your body is always rotating. So I wanna make sure that our core can actually rotate our spine and we can be powerful with some rotation. Okay, so we'll hit some rotational core. This is huge for especially like baseball, tennis, MMA, punching, kicking, throwing, all that stuff. It's huge for that. So we make sure that we have our rotational core in there. That could be med ball work, that could be like kneeling wood chops, it could be any variation of a rotational core movement. The last day is an optional day. Think of this as, hey, we're gonna get everything in that we normally didn't get to during our other day, okay? This is a day, it's an optional day. Whether you want to focus a little bit more on building muscle, you can make these a more of a hypertrophy rep range, 3 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps, taking it till failure. But it's an optional day for our athletes to allow them to kind of have a little bit of freedom, as long as it's not directly or negatively affecting any of the other work that we've done. So optional type days that I've done in the past for our athletes could be another speed day. It could be a more of a conditioning based day. It's really to help address any of those needs for yourself. But in this case, I give them some, and I'm giving you some actual things that we'll do. So we're gonna focus a lot more on the posterior shoulder, okay? So like mid trap, trap, rear delt, because a lot of over here was a lot of like pushing, right? Now we did get some pulling in here, but I wanna make sure that we're getting some of our posterior delt developed with that. So we'll do things like a reverse fly, face pull to overhead press is great for shoulder health, Lou raise. Now in the other trainings, the other exercises and workouts, we didn't have a lot of lateral movement. And a lot of athletes don't train their adductors and are always tight in their groin, and it's typically because they're very weak and not very mobile in them. So we'll add in either a Copenhagen or a Cossack or both to make sure that we're lengthening and strengthening the adductors to help with any growing or potential growing injuries so those don't happen. After that, usually a couple sets of arms, could be bicep, tricep, whatever you want. But this is the main thing that a lot of our athletes need that is very neglected. And that is grip and forearm strength, and also strengthening your neck, okay? So with the grip strengthening exercises that we'll do, we'll typically make sure that we are hitting all the different movements of the wrist, right? Up, down, left, right, rotation. Okay, so for that, might do a wrist roller into some kettlebell flips for the supination and pronation. Get into some more dynamic work for the strength, either like a kettlebell drop or a alternating plate drop where they're having to dynamically grab and hold on as they pull the weight back on up. And then finish with wrist plate raises. After that would be some neck isos. So this is big for like football, rugby, combat sports. So this is the training split to help you get you stronger, more powerful, improve your speed, and build some work capacity so that after this, you can take this into a more strength and power focus where we are really ramping up the force production, rate of force production, and all of that. But if you want to get started with us and get started with a program just like this with all the sets, reps, details, coaching available with me, then you can click the link below, join the Peak Performance program. If not, I want to hear your thoughts. Comment down below what you want to see next. And as always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Train hard.